I mean, there's a lot that we can be doing, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. I've been really interested in the tools though.
Okay.
Because I've been here quite a while, and I've noticed like you have so many tools,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
hand tools.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so there's a lot. I mean, I guess, maybe we could do, like, what, the essential tools? Like what it actually takes to get started?
Yeah, I've been really interested in knowing because there's like hundreds in here.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid and crazy, isn't it? All right, let me go grab them. All right, so I think this is it. I think I've got, if you held my feet to the fire, I think I've got the 6 tools that I could build a guitar with. It's not going to be easy, but here it is. My first tool, if I was to only, have everything down, and then I guess within the hypothetical context of I can only have 6 tools, but I had sharpening stones and sandpaper, because that's kind of crazy to not do it. I think I could do just about everything with a knife, a 3/4 inch chisel, a scraper, a good 14-inch number 5 hand plane. This is one of my favorites. A standard mill bastard file, and a fret saw. So I think, and just kind of looking at it, because you don't always have to use a fret saw as a fret saw. It's extravagant to use it as a cutting saw, but I think that it could be done, really. So let's start with the knife. I personally like a knife without a handle. It just fits within my fingers. It's one of my holdovers from back when I was in violin making school. I used to have these handles that were massive, but there were certain things I couldn't do. And so one of my mentors, who's a Japanese woodworker, he taught me how to use a knife essentially using these 2 fingers as control of the direction of the knife, and then these 2 to stabilize. So between this, you can actually provide tension and pull at the same time to stabilize the blade as you're doing very intricate and close work. And even so, like this. It's not for everybody, but it's one of those ways that I've learned how to do that, where you get a lot of control. So on the guitar, you could do all of your purfling work, you can do all of your head rough work, you could cut your sound hole with this, and between this and your 3/4 inch chisel, being very creative, you could carve out the rosette and then do all of your bracing and all that. So I think, yeah, number 1 would be a good knife. And for you building your home workshop, I'd say this is a good place to start. Number 2, variation of a knife, but with a little bit more mass, is a 3/4 inch chisel. And now there's a whole lot of other things that you could be doing with your chisels. There's complete chisel sets. I have them, but I just don't use them. I 99% of the time I reach for this, and the other 1% of the time that I'm reaching for something in that chisel kit is either a specialty, like I gotta clean out a slot with a very specific chisel that's smaller than this, which I could supplement with a knife. But the other times, it's that this one is dull and I'm being way too lazy to sharpen it. So yeah, I can, basically a chisel in this grand context is something that is immensely useful. You can do all of your curving and freehand work, like on the heel and on the brace work, with this. I mean, certainly a small hand plane like this would be helpful, but it's not necessary, because I built guitars for many years before I got these. So, between the chisel and the knife, you can do all that. Now, for me, the way that I do a lot of my finalization of thickness is with a bench scraper. And I've done videos with bench scrapers and how to sharpen them. And yes, you can go through the whole pulling a burr and turning the burr process. But I'm just a grinder kind of a person, and I think that at least for what we're going for, I mean, if I'm doing a violin again, I'm pulling a burr, but for what we're doing here, it seems to work. I don't know, James, what do you think? You've seen me use this a lot. I mean, this is what my number one grab and go tool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and likewise with this, like I've almost always got these two in my hand, right? Yeah, I think that having something like this is a great piece. This is just a cheap, I think, $8 scraper. I go through these like, 1, 2 a year, doesn't matter. They're cheap. The third thing, because math, fourth thing that I cannot live without is a really great hand plane. And this is, if I had to narrow it down to one, this is it. It's my number 5, and it doesn't have to be a Lee Nielsen. This one is. I love the Lee Nielsen tools. If you look around, I almost never have a Lee Nielsen tool that isn't in reach. But that said, it doesn't have to be a Lee Nielsen. It can be a really old Stanley. It can be a record. It could be anything. But a really good number 5, and my only caveat is that it has to have a really good blade. So if you're using an old Stanley, those blades are hit or miss. Some of them hold an edge really, really well. I've got some Stanley Bedrocks where the planes are magnificent, but they don't hold an edge as long. So I like a good thick blade on the plane. So, take that at what you will. So with a number 5 plane, which is about a 14-inch plane, you can do everything, including joining your tops and your backs. It's large enough to give you a nice flat edge. Second of all, this is, for me, just the right amount of length to allow myself to plane in the relief onto the neck as needed. So when you have the right size plane, you can just about do anything. And if you need a smaller plane, you can take this, turn it upside down, clamp it in your bench vise, and you can use it as such. Now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult if you're adjusting the braces on the top because this thing is huge, but again, we come back to the knife and the chisel. Next up is a good file. There's something to be said about, well, this is actually not a good file. This one is, it's seen some things, but a good, flat single cut file, you can do a lot of your finish work. And again, with this hypothetical, I suppose we have sandpaper. So this is a really great way to round out all of your rough edges, and it's kind of the tell-all. So if you leave marks behind from this and this and this finds the high spot and rounds it out very nicely. And again, this is something that I grab almost every day because you can work your frets with this. You can do final finish work around the purfling. You can do your headstock and blunting and turning of edges, as well as rounding out the neck. So this is really one of the bestest tools in the shop. Now, last and final thing is a fret saw. This one is from the company out in Ohio. I probably go through like 5 or 6 of these a year because of all the refretting and new fingerboards and guitars that I'm building. We go through a fair amount of these a year. And they're really good, and yes, I know I can sharpen them, but frankly, they're cheap enough that I get enough uses out of them. It's not worth it for me to sharpen it. Plus, I don't want to mess up the tooth geometry because they're really good. But, the frets seed into this really, really well. You don't have to do a whole lot of modifications. And there we go, yeah. What do you think, James? Think that there's anything else that you see me using a lot in here? I mean, if I challenge myself, I think I can get a guitar out with these six tools, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
that said, do you think? I don't think that this is for the faint of heart. You know, was it the tools make work easy, or more tools make work easy? But you know, the less tools, the more of a master you have to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. Watch some more videos. I appreciate it. Please, you know, your support on Patreon, I really appreciate it. You know what? Tell me what tools you can't live without in your shop in the comments below. See you next time.
Yeah, that guy. I don't know why, I just think of the Tommy gun.
The camera's still rolling, isn't it? Okay.